Welcome to this short orientation recording for teaching assistants for Anatomy and Physiology 2. So I want to orient you to the website that we've set up for the students for lab. Like semesters past, we have created a separate website, a separate ELC site for students, and this will have it's cross-listed for all of the lab sections. And as you look at the front page of it, you see we've got a place for announcements just like yours, and then we've also got a calendar. You can see I've already posted an announcement and I've already included some of the important calendar dates, and these are all going to be lab exams and of course spring break. So let's look to see what the content is, and I've added all of you as teaching assistants. Okay, so if we start over with a table of contents here, you can see that we've got a place for the syllabus, which I've just updated, and then we've got places for all of the different modules that we're going to be talking about during the course of the semester. The very first thing at the very top is going to be the instructor's manual. This is here. And notice that we've posted this, even though it's on the website, we've posted it in draft mode. So this means that students cannot see it. Students should not see it. So do not change this particular setting when you come across it. Okay. Now, when we look at the syllabus is posted. It's a PDF document up here at the top. There are some things that I'll want to point out to you. Contact information for everybody is here. Students can see that. Description, the required materials, the learning outcomes, etc., etc. The grading scheme has been tweaked just a tiny bit. So as in recent semesters past, we have allocated 250 points to lab, and of this 250 points, 200 points are going to be allocated to lab exams. We've decided to stick with the short and long lab test format. So we'll have two shorter lab practicals or two mini practicals and then two longer practicals. The remaining 50 points are going to be split between quizzes. Instead of 5 best scores, we'll take their 4 best scores. Each quiz can be worth 10 points. And then we've decided to include something that I'm calling end of exercise questions. So one of the issues that came up among us instructors as we were debriefing at the end of last semester was we wondered if there was a way to persuade students to engage with the material a little bit differently. And we've decided to try including some participation points. These end of exercise questions would be something that you would give to your students before they walk out the door, after they say that they've completed the exercise. And it would be like a case study, just something, short, a couple of questions that you could grade sort of quickly and then enter a grade for. The maximum number of points that they can earn at this point is actually going to be fairly small, 10 points. Here is the schedule. I updated this today since this had changed a little bit, so all of you are on there. And then here is the calendar, so with all the dates and the dates of all of the practical exams. Okay, so let's see what else we have for you. If we look at lab materials, you can see that we've divided everything into modules. Let's look at module 1 because this is one we're going to be talking about most immediately. And in the modules, you will see that there are essentially two kinds of information. There's information that the students can see, and then there's information that only you can see. So what the students can see here is actually just the need to knows, and then the quiz will show up when it opens on the 12th, okay? Let me show you what it looks like to them. Thanks for being patient with this. So you can see the need to knows are there, and then apparently they can see the quiz as well, but they can also see that it doesn't open until January 12th. Okay, and they can see this. This is true for all of the modules or certain content that they can see. All right, so let's start with module 1. Okay, I'm going to go back to instructor view so that you can see what's there. And you can see we've got need to knows again. These need to knows look very similar. They're in PDF format. They're very similar to what you've used in the past. So the chapter is there from the lab manual. We're going to be using the same lab manual again. Learning objectives are there on the first page, and then very often there will be the structures of importance that will be on the pages that are following. And this is really what do they need to know for the exam, for the lab practicals. Okay. The quiz is set up here. And if you remember the quizzes, we can see a preview. We can go ahead and do that. The quizzes are really designed for them to take at their convenience, and they're designed to help them prepare for the larger lab practical. I usually try to have something where they're going to have an image, something like they might see on the lab exam, and the idea is to persuade them to go ahead and be prepared for the lab exam and to give them an idea of what it is that they might need. The quizzes will be 10 questions, 1 point each. They can have 2 attempts and then keep their best scores. I've created several large pools of questions for the quizzes again, and I've set it up so that the questions should randomize. So that should help with academic honesty. We'll just say that. Okay, now if we also look here at Module 1, so these are the student materials. This would also be where I would post a link to something that might be interesting or something that would help them. But we've also got a submodule here, and notice that this is set in draft format. So this is not for the students to see. And here in this submodule that I always call it TA prep materials. These are information, or these are materials that are really just for you. So within the prep materials, I've put the PowerPoints from, excuse me, the PowerPoints from the textbook. And these are PowerPoints that typically are going to include images from Anatomy and Physiology Revealed. And you are welcome to use those images if you would like, if you would think that they would be helpful as part of your discussion. Okay, so that will always be there. And these correspond to the chapters in the textbook, not in the lab manual. And then I've got the teaching notes or the lab specifics there. These look a lot like the need to knows, and in fact, part of it will be identical to the need to know. So the learning objectives and the reference will be the same. The structures of importance will be the same. And then I try to always have something, well, what is it that you're going to need? Other models that you're going to need. Here I'm suggesting that you might want colored pencils and some paper. And then I'll also try to put some other websites and things that might be helpful, and then a couple of notes. Just some suggestions of some ways that you might organize your time or organize your discussion of the activity. Okay. Now additionally, I also have prepared a PowerPoint for you. My TAs last semester seemed to indicate that they liked it a lot. The PowerPoint is a lot like the teaching notes, so I tried to include the reference here to the lab manual, and then also the learning objectives, and I try to divide them up and then give you typically images. These are unlabeled images that you can use. You can print them out. You can have students label them. You can include them in an activity that you want to do. You can make a worksheet out of it or a study guide, whatever it is that you want to do with those. I also will include, in particular, histology images of the different organs that are going to be under discussion. So for example, this is a histology image that I had found, and this one shows up on the lab quizzes. So if you don't want to use this particular one, just as an example, you certainly could feel free to find another one that would be similar. This one comes from Lumen, which is a site that I have used very frequently, and the students are familiar with it. This one, I usually put the reference, the link at the bottom that will take you to the place where I got it. So you're seeing the follicular cells as well. So along with all of this histology, just as an example, and these other kinds of images, this would be a place where you would direct your students to go ahead and go to Anatomy and Physiology Revealed. Particularly with the histology, the A&P Revealed is helpful, I think, because you can click on the different things that you're looking at and the name of that thing will become checked, or you can click on the name of the thing that you're looking at on the left-hand side, and that thing will light up in a different color. So it makes it pretty clear. And especially with the histology, the images that they give you are also pretty clear and very nice. And the dissections are very nice too. Okay, so I've got several histological images here for the endocrine system, just as an example, and then also some A&P revealed type images of actual or cadaver images that you might find helpful as well. I would suggest, if you want, you can download this and then you can have the slides. I usually put notes in the notes region. You know, some suggestions or something about where I got it or how I would use it or some idea of something that you could do. So you might want to take a look at that. We'll give it just a second to load, and I'll show you what's there. If it'll open, there it goes. I think it's behind. There it is. Okay, so see here, I've given you the blank image, and then I've told you where it comes from the Saladin text, also from the lab manual, and then some ideas of what you could do for that. Okay. And again, some ideas, you know, of what it is, the link of what this is, some ideas of what you could do with it. Okay. And I call this the TA Prep PowerPoint. Now, I do want to emphasize here that we don't really want you to spend your time lecturing to the students. There's 40 students in a lab session. There's hardly enough seats for all of them. It's crowded, it's hot, it's flu season. You want to try to have your students be as active as they can. You want them to be labeling and asking each other questions. You really do not want to be standing up there and just lecturing at them, because it's really, it should be much more of an active learning type environment. Let me just show you one more, because we'll be talking about the heart this week. So here for the students, you can see we've got the need to knows for the heart. I've got a HyperHeart link here and histology guide as well. And then I've got the exercise for the anatomy of the heart and electrical conductivity of the heart. Those actually come from the lab manual itself. And then in this particular module, because it's so big, cardiovascular is so big, the TA materials are going to be all the way at the bottom. They have a separate module themselves, not for each lab. And here we have for the heart, I try to put the dates on there, describe the location, etc., etc. And again, I've tried to give you, images that you could use to have students label them, anything that you want to do with that. If you want to use them to make quiz questions or, whatever it is, however it is that you want to do them, I've tried to give you ample unlabeled images. Okay, so let's go back. And then let me also show you the very last thing here would be that let's go to quizzes. And when you go to quizzes, I've already created the first endocrine quiz, but I've got a number of pools of questions that you can have, and many of these pools of questions include images, a diagram. Like this would be a diagram, or a cadaver image or something, something that they have to label or something that they have to name, fill in the blank, or a multiple choice question. You can certainly feel free to use these if you would like. The students will be having to take the quizzes and we'll go from there.